Yes, people, how we doing? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Bars TV, where I'm bringing you everything prison-related, prison media. So, what I'm going to be talking about in this live is a PC who has just been sentenced to 9 years in prison. So what I'll do at the end, obviously, I'll get into the story in a bit when a few more people start joining the live. And I will do a bit of Q&A at the end. But I will get into the story when a few more people join. I hope everyone is feeling okay this Sunday afternoon. And I can see there's a few more people coming in. So I will get into the story in a second. And I will, where we are here, put the ticker on the bottom so you can see what I'm going to be talking about, people. So someone actually sent us this, one of me subscribers had asked us if I could do a video on this and asked us if I'd come across this story as of yet, but I hadn't. So I'll get into the story, and it is this fella here. I'll get a picture up of him. Where's he at? Just getting used to this live view. Give us bear with us a second. So this fella, or this depraved beast, should we call him? So that is Dean Dempster from Greater Manchester Police, who actually pleaded guilty to SA of a 6-year-old child. Now, this, 2 seconds while I get back on this, depraved beast, like it said, was called out to an incident at a home. Imagine this. Now, I don't know exactly what the incident was, but I'm assuming it seems as though it was some sort of domestic. And the coppers have been called out to the house, and he has took this 6-year-old girl, vulnerable 6-year-old girl, who has been witnessing some sort of atrocities in this house. And he has took her in a different room to question her, to see what had been going on in the house. And whilst he had her in the other room, bear in mind there was a few coppers in the house, he's took her to a room by herself, just the two of them, to question her, to see what had been going on inside the house. And the dirty, sick beast, S.A., the young lass. So that young lass must have been frightened for her life. The coppers coming to the house, him taking her into a side room to question her, to see what had actually been going on. And this horrible bacon beast, S.A., that poor 6-year-old lass. Now, what must have happened was, it was reported, whether or not it was the parents that was in the house, have actually told what's happened while this poor little lass has been took into a side room of this beast who's supposed to be there to protect her. Worst of the worst. So she's obviously informed the guardians, whoever was looking after her. Then they've gotten back in touch with the police, told them what had happened, and I'll just read out the story, what is on here. And I'll just put the picture of the beast back up whilst I read you this story. So it says on here, a depraved PC who SA a 6-year-old girl while on duty and superimposed his face onto child images has been jailed. Former Greater Manchester Police officer Dean Dempster, 35, pleaded guilty to SA the child when responding to a disturbance in Oldham in December 2023 and 6 counts of making images. Thousands of indecent images were discovered when his device were seized, with more than 100 graded as Category A, the most seriously. He was jailed at Liverpool Crown Court for 9 years and ordered to sign the S Offenders Register for life. Dempster of West Didsbury, Manchester, joined the force in 2021 and was one of 3 officers responding to a domestic incident involving an adult and children on the 29th of December 2023. It was while taking an account from the 6-year-old girl away from colleagues, he SA her. He was arrested the next day and investigated by GMP's Professional Standards Directorate and for further offending under the direction of the Independent Office for Police Conduct. So it goes on to say a search of Dempster's home revealed further serious offending, including making images of kids, the CPS has said. So I'll just put this back on a second because you'll probably be sick of looking at that fucking beast's face. So it goes on to say 4 pairs of folded kids' underwear, shredded underwear in a bag, a disc of images, and 2 hard drives were also seized along with his devices. Dempster's mobile phone and iPad were found to contain 104 indecent images, graded as Category A, 444 Category B images, and 2,500 Category C images. The CPS said they had been downloaded between December 2021 until the 29th of December 2023. A large number of the pseudo images had been superimposed to depict Dempster with kids. Images taken from his body-worn video camera from December 2023 incident and another incident were also found on his mobile phone. The victims of both families have been made aware and kept updated. What a sick, depraved beast he is doing that to that poor lass when he's out there getting called out to a domestic call. I'll just go on to see what else it says. It's put on. Deputy Chief Constable Terry Wood said, I am angry and appalled at this abhorrent abuse of responsibility and trust. We commend the bravery of this young victim for coming forward. Goes on to say they apologise to the family. He was immediately, obviously, suspended. And it's took up until now for him to plead guilty eventually, because he couldn't do nothing else but plead guilty. So it goes on to say through his training and work, he would have also been aware of profound harmful impact that SA can have on victims. Of course, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was using his power to betray the people, use that trust to do what he was doing, the sick, depraved beast, what he is. But I'll just go on to some of these comments now. But yes, I just thought I'll bring that story up because one of my subscribers sent us that. But I will shorten this down and upload it onto the main channel, so because a lot of people that miss the lives don't see them. So I will cut that bit down and put it back on. But anyways, these lives get replayed anyway as soon as I upload it. So if you have just joined, you will be able to join the rest of the chat. 2 seconds, people. There we go. So you will be able to go back and watch the full thing. So I will have a bit of interacting here with the subscribers. I hope you are all keeping well. So Maureen Nelson, it seems to be the police and prison staff and other services are still rife with these dirty, wired, wrong scumbags. Well, you're not wrong there, Maureen. That seems to be the case at the minute. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot coming to light lately in the press. And I'm doing a public service and bringing you these stories like you all know exactly what is going on. So Emma French says, hi all. John Fitch says, why did we stop doing that to Bacons? I'm not sure what you're on about, but I think what he means is why did we stop doing that to Bacons is obviously the Bacons, the nonces, when they get sent to prison, they should be on normal location. There should be it would be a bit of a deterrent for them if they were all just mixed in like they used to be in Durham. Because when we were in Durham and we found out about these Bacons in there, they didn't half get the hidings of their life. But it's exactly what they deserve, them type of prisoners. They're going in there, getting put on the VP wings, getting protected when they're anything but vulnerable. VP stands for vulnerable prisoner, but that copper there, or ex-copper now, They'll be going straight onto protection. But someone somewhere down the line will get a hold of them, because that's what happens to all of these bacons inside. Caroline Corley, good afternoon. And Peter Crocknell says, superb channel. Thank you very much, Peter. But if anyone's just joining the live, it will be replayed later on, so you can go back. I've just been doing the story on the copper from Greater Manchester Police, who used his power to... You've got to be careful which way I word things on here, because a couple of my videos have been demonetized because of certain words, which is wrong in itself, but that's just the way it is. But what I will do now is get into a bit more prison news. So I've been having a look to see what are the topics I can cover on this live. And the one that popped up, it says Whitemore convicted killer hit prison officer after food row. So this is another scenario that's happening on a daily basis. I mean, some of the stories are making the papers, but obviously I still speak with some of the lads inside a prison, and they're giving us info about what's happening on a daily basis, what the regime's like, and what is going on inside the prison. And screws are getting attacked on a daily basis. And the biggest reason why it is happening is because of the regime. Now, when I've been speaking with my pal inside of HMP Golf, the inspectors were in there a couple of weeks ago. They've done an unannounced inspection. And if you have a look and type it in HMP Golf, go on to Google, inspection. The inspectors said it was like an airport. There was that many drones coming in and out the prison. As the inspectors were in, they said the whole place stunk of weed, and they said it needs radical reform inside the prison. But what they're doing is they're not giving the prisoners any incentives in there. They're putting them on restricted regime, COVID, like we had during COVID, a restricted regime where the prisoners are only getting out the pads for an hour a day, a bit like when you're in your local prison on remand. But they're lucky if they get that. They're hardly ever getting over a shower, getting an exercise, obviously you have your dinner behind your door anywhere. So as you can imagine, the lads are getting frustrated. Lasses as well in the jails. Their prisons aren't as bad, but the lads are getting infuriated. They're coming out. The screws are getting a bit mouthy because they're fed up with the regime as well. And as you can imagine, the screws are getting banged all over. And these aren't making the news all the time, but I will read this article here that was on. And it says, a convicted killer who attacked a prison officer in a row over food has had his sentence extended. Fabio Serrano, 24, who was serving a life sentence for manslaughter in 2018, attacked the officer at HMP Whitemore in March at around about 4 p.m. on Saturday, the 30th of October, 2021. So this has took quite a while for it to get to court. The prison officer had been serving evening meals to the prisoners and opened the door to Serrano's cell. Serrano claimed his food had been contaminated and approached the officer with a wire wrapped around his right hand. He punched the officer in the chin and continued to throw punches. The screw was taken to hospital for treatment for serious injuries. On Thursday, October 2021, at Cambridge Crown Court, Serrano of HMP Woodhill, because he's obviously must have been moved after that attack, was jailed for 30 months. Sorry, that was on October the 21st, having pleaded guilty to actual bodily harm. And it goes on to say he was also found guilty of 2 counts of unauthorized possession in prison of an offensive weapon. So I don't know how they can say unauthorized weapon in prison. It's unauthorized anyway. But that's what it's saying in that article. But it says Serrano is an incredibly dangerous criminal who has previously assaulted prison officers. So it's good news. His sentence has been extended. Wait, they're obviously going to say that, aren't they? But if he's serving a life sentence and he's had 30 months added onto the top, then I'm not quite sure how that one will work, or whether or not, because it will get put on top of his sentence. So if he was doing if said it was manslaughter, he's probably doing a discretionary life sentence, just say a minimum of 5 years, so that 30 months will be added on top of his already 5-year sentence. So I'll just go back on to a couple of these comments here. So again, Maureen says, would it not be better if they let them out all day back in their cell after tea? Well, that's what the inspectors had come up with, because we're asking the prisoners what incentives do you need, or what will stop you from not only kicking off. Bearing in mind, this year alone, just in HMP Golf, there's been 7 suicides. And a lot of this has been in restricted regime. Obviously, the prisoners are fed up being behind the door all the time, suffering with the mental health, and they ended up stringing up 7 people. One of them was down the block on suicide watch, just being bashed all over off the screws, tossed in the cell, and then killed himself. How can you kill yourself on suicide watch? It's mental. This is what's happening in the prisons. But the inspectors did say, because my friend had a meeting with them, because he was like a bit of a listener type on the wing, and they do listen to what the prisoners have to say. And my pal was saying to them, you need to give us more incentives, get us out the pad more. So they are trying to change the regime in prison, so they're not on the restricted regime, and they get out the pads more, interact with each other. Because imagine if you're stuck in your own thoughts and your head's mashed and you're just sitting there in your pad, it fucks with your head's just spinning, you're thinking all sorts, you're thinking things that's not even right. Come out under association, someone pisses you off, upsets you, one of the screws says something, people getting stuck into the screws, that's just what happens in there. But anyone got any questions on here? So Ross says, party time, flying pizzas in like fuck. But it's like I said, if you have a look in the paper, the inspectors have said HMP Golf is like a fucking airport, because there's that many drones coming in. And the prisoners' cells, it's big, thick plastic perspex windows. They've put grills on so you can't get your hands out, because the lads, back in the day, what we used to do was put our hands out the cells so you could chuck lines out the windows, pass anything between each other. And then obviously the cotton on it, they tried to clamp down on it, so they've put vents on. So what the prison's been doing now is smashing the windows out, and there's big gaping holes where they've been putting their arm out. The drones are flying in, and they're just pulling the packages in. And like Ross says, party time. So John Fitch says prisoners are just like everyone else in society. They need something to do that's interesting and fun. Otherwise, what else is there to do? Exactly. You're in there serving your time. You've got to get on with it. The majority just get on with it. There's no mourning. Not much. Just get on with your time. Maybe he's mourn over the odd app or two. But obviously, when things come into prison, or there's hooch inside the prison, then you're going to have yourself a bit of a party. And I had a few good old parties back in the day, back in HMP Franklin. 21-year-old when I was in there, 22. I remember Christmas, and there was about 6 of us in the pad. We had all sorts. We had the hooch, we had Class A's, and we had a proper party in there. I remember speaking to my mate on the phone back home. Bearing in mind, I was just a young lad. Didn't have much out here. Wasn't really missing much. Didn't have my wife or kids. Yeah, so sitting in Franklin, pissed up on the hooch, on the phone with pal, saying I'm having the best time ever. Well, that was the mentality back then. You're in there, you're pissed up, but you've got to get on with your time. And I have had some funny old sessions and parties inside of prison. Most of them, like I've just mentioned, were inside HMP Franklin. But you've got to make the most of it. But a lot of the time, it got to a point where I was actually coming back from the gym and my pals were sitting pissed up again, and I was actually knocking it back. But that hooch inside of there, believe it or not, anyone who's watching who's been inside, one cupful of that stuff when it's done properly, and it sends you west. But I'll start talking a little bit about this actually, because imagine inside of prison, a load of pissed up, violent criminals, it always always ends up with a laugh, or it always ends up going off it. Every time there's a session, you all get together with the lads and you're on the hooch. If you've got a good bucket full or about 10 litres of hooch between you all, by the time you finish them bottles, someone's getting laid out, the screws are getting banged about, you're in your pad, banged up after bang up time, music blasting, wake up in the morning, your fucking pad smashed up, you're thinking, what the fuck's happened here? Couple of times I woke up looking in the sink was blocked up, full of fucking sick, and I was sitting there, I was thinking, what? Head was stotting, looking around my pad thinking, how the fuck did I get in here? But yeah, I had some funny old drinks in there. So Thugsy here says, when people finish their sentence and they come out, how hard is it to adapt back to normal life? So when you finish your sentence and you come out, it can be extremely hard. That all depends on your circumstances and whether or not you've got a good community of people on the outside to support you. Luckily enough, I've had family out here to support me when I've gotten out. But even still, when I got out after my IPP, after serving just over 5 years, I didn't for 1 minute feel as though it was going to be hard. But for the first 2 weeks of being free, my head was battered. Believe it or not, the only way I can describe it is like you get out, you're so happy to be out, you're buzzing, but at the same time, your head's mashed. Because bearing in mind, when I got out when I was 25 off my IPP, when I was 20, I never really lived with my partner or anything before. Obviously, when I got out, I moved straight in with her. And imagine being by yourself for 5 years in your own bed. Then you're lying next to your partner and you just can't switch off. I was lying there till 5 o'clock in the morning, tossing and turning like, for fuck's sake, I couldn't get to sleep. It was an absolute headache. As mad as it sounds, it was a fucking nightmare. But you've just got to get over them first 2 weeks. But this is when a lot of the people mess up and they end up straight back in. But when you get out, if you haven't got a good family support, a lot of people are back in within hours, days. The lads, it's like a revolving door. It was nearly 10 years before I went back inside of my IPP. I got recalled after 9.5 years. And it was the same faces, the same story. It was like I was stuck in a fucking time warp. I was thinking it's the same people that were in 10 years ago doing the same thing. They're getting released and straight back in. But if you haven't got nothing on the outside, no good family support, haven't got a job, haven't got anything, you get out, you've got no money, no one to support you. What do you think's going to happen? Go straight back to what you know, and you're going to go out and where a lot of them are on the hard drugs. So the bang on the drugs, and the first thing they think of is getting smashed. Because everyone in jail all talk about when they get out, what are you doing on your first night out? Getting smashed. What you're taking, what you're getting, how much drink you're going to have. But that's what I was like off my IPP, thinking, I can't wait to get out and have a drink. But I knew I had tight restrictions, so I was a bit dubious at first. But after a couple of weeks, it eases off a little bit, and then you start getting a bit laxy, drinking. But when I got out this time, after me recall, none of that. Obviously, my main objective when I got out this time was to make sure I stayed out, got my book wrote up, got it all designed and everything, got it uploaded on all the different websites, Amazon, WH Smith, Waterstone. So that's what I focused my time on when I got out. But if you haven't got anything like that, then prison, when you get out, it is extremely hard. So Ross says, used to get turned over by the XR2s all the time because I absolutely stink of weed all the time. Well, if you're driving about stinking of weed. But to be honest with you, a lot of the majority, well, not the majority, but a lot of people are driving around stinking of weed. But they've got swabs and everything now, so you'll not get away with it as much as what you used to back in the day. So Ricky's RC channel says, I woke up in the block, lol. No, I know exactly what he's on about here. Obviously, when you're in the side, when I've just been talking about sessions inside at Christmas or whatever, or depending on where you're at, these sessions happen on a weekly basis with the hooch. But they do have hooch dogs now inside of prison, believe it or not. The sniffer dogs are trained to sniff out the hooch, and they come around sniffing all the pads and destroying your Christmas because the bastard dogs are sniffing your hooch out. But what's it? So Ricky's RC channel there, he's saying I woke up in the block. So he must have been mortal on the hooch. Like I've mentioned, one normal cup, like what you use a coffee cup, one of them gets you on your way. 2, 3, 4. After 4, you get memory blank. Whatever, that hooch is lethal. It's like drinking fucking straight vodka sometimes. But like he says, I woke up in the block. I've woke up. Me fucking hi-fi and everything was smashed. Me next door neighbour was telling us that I'd fucking been shouting on, banging on the walls, going mental. Luckily, the door was locked. Because like he says, he's woke up in the block. But anyone who's done that sort of stuff out here when you're young and daft, pissed up, you wake up in the police station, you're thinking, shit, what am I in here for? Ross is over here. Ricky's obviously done that in the block. Boss, what am I down the block for? Angela Lacey, hello. Yeah, we got here. So, JB Mods, you're Ricky. How are you doing? So, if anyone's got any more questions, fire away. But like I was saying about the state of the prisons at the moment, the screws getting done in on a daily basis. There's prisoners getting done in constantly, drug debts, everything like that. And it's an ongoing situation which is just getting worse because of the prison overcrowding. And like I say, there's going to be radical reforms within inside the prison because all the top senior judges have all getting together. Yeah, I can't remember the names of them. I read up on it. And they've actually put together an action plan about what they're going to be doing. They're actually deciding on whether or not they're going to start reducing sentences for lifers as well. Yeah, lifers are also maybe going to be getting sent to category Ds with 5 years left, because at the minute you can't go with less than 3 years. But what they're trying to do is do it so the lifers can go for when they've got 5 years left. So they're trying to do all sorts inside the prisons to solve the situation. But like I say, I still speak with a lot of lads inside a prison, so I get straight facts. No bullshit on here. I just talk exactly what's going on, keeping people up to date. And as you can see there by the subscriber count, 77,800. I've gained another 3,000 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. So that's going up at a good rate. My aim is to get to that 100,000 subscriber mark within the next few months. I'm 40 in March, so we'll aim for March, yeah? 100,000 subscribers by March. But if anyone's got any more questions, fire away, people. I just thought I would bring them stories. Actually, whilst I've got this up on, I'll have a look for... Oh, shit, where's that? I'll just have a quick look. There's 2 seconds, people. I'm going to have a quick look for some more prison stories. What's going on in the prisons today? So there's actually... it's popped up one of these news stories here, which is a load of shite. Some of these papers just print whatever they want, but it's got on here about Britain's top-paid prisoners are raking in more than prison officers, with one inmate earning a staggering 46 grand last year. So I'm not sure exactly. This isn't money that's been earned inside a prison. It's here some prisoners in low-security prisons are allowed to work outside the prison as long as they are back in the jail confines by the end of the day. So this, what they're talking about, is in category D prisons. The prisoners are, if they can get jobs on the outside, obviously some of these people in Cat D have got years left on the sentence, so they can get jobs on the outside. But it's saying there that one prisoner made 46 grand in a year. Well, he's probably obviously got a good job, but what they forget to tell you is, out of that 46 grand, he's probably only allowed to keep about 5 grand of it, less than 10 grand, because they take it off you. Some of the prisoners this is another thing what I've just been on about earlier on when someone asked us in the chat about how hard is it, or how hard is it for when prisoners get out. So the whole point in getting to category D is to try and get back into society, try and get an outside job, ready for your release. But what they do is, when the prisoners are outside working, they're taking the massive proportion of their wages off them. Why would you want to do that when the prisoners need that money for rehabilitation for when they are released, so they can get themselves a house, get a car, but yet they're going out and working, making an honest living, and they're taking, I can't remember exactly, but they're taking a massive percentage of the wages off them, giving them maybe something like 20% or something daft like that. So Ross here, we'll give him a little bit of a help here. If anyone goes and clicks on his channel, he says, I have a dream, 200 subs by Christmas 2025. Well, get some good content up, mate, and I'm sure you'll get it. You've just got to be consistent if you are trying to build a channel. Be consistent, get some good content out, and it does take a long time. I've been at it now, I'd say about 2 and a bit years. If you look back on my oldest video, I think it's about 2 years old. But you've just got to be consistent, keep at it, and like I say, pump some good content out, and you will find a good base of people that enjoy your content. So, what's this one saying? We are paying for their accommodation, to be fair. Well, the prison obviously is paying for the accommodation, but there's no need to take that much money off them when they get released. They need accommodation, so the majority of them will just be straight back in if they haven't got enough funds or whatever to set themselves up when they are released. But again, it's all a business for the prisons as well. They don't want people like myself to come out and make something of themselves, rehabilitated, have a good life. They want you in and out. It's a revolving door. They want you in and out so they can make money. It's all a business. Imagine there was no prisoners. How many people would be out of pocket? How many? It's an ongoing, it's a massive profitable business. Prison is a business. Corrupt to the core, just like everything. So I've got someone talking shite here who I'll just put him on a fucking mute, because you always get this daft idiots in the comment section, but I don't put up with fucking daft shite in the comments. Anyone wants to talk, cool, then see you later. But Graham, nice one. He says there, #1 podcast by Miles. Nice one, pal. So this one here, what I've just been on about, Greg says, people who have done 20 years, for example, and get compen, they have to pay for all the time they spend inside. So, like Greg says there, what he means is there's a lot of people that have been wrongly convicted. There was one bloke that spent about 30 years inside a prison. He got about £1 million compensation, which he should have gotten a lot more, because he was innocent. He was fitted up, his life is over spending that much time in prison. His head must have been mashed. So what actually happens is they've actually got to pay. So out of that million, he had to pay a few $100,000 for all the years that he was accommodated inside a prison. How the fucking hell does that work out? Yeah, you've got to pay for your accommodation when you were put in there against your own free will, imprisoned wrongfully. So now you've got to pay for it. So, man of free speech says, I have noticed you're more aggressive on videos now you're off license. Well, it's not being aggressive, it's just being more verbal, because if you're just sitting here with a somber mood, just talking quietly, like I tried on a lot of my videos, because I used to think about what I was saying. people don't find it very interacting. If you come on and you're more verbal, you speak your mind, it's not being aggressive as such, as in angry and violent. It's just coming across in a manner what the majority of you like watching, to be honest, because I've noticed a lot of the comments, people are saying your videos, since you're off your IPP, are so much better now that you can speak your mind. So, man of free speech. Someone like you should understand that with a name like that. So JB says, when do we get the next episode of Bacon Bashers? Well, hopefully I should have another Bacon Bashers. And every video I do, I keep thinking this one's the best of the Bacon Bashers. But the next one will be the best, because it is the king himself, the king of the Bacon Bashers, Mr. Robert Maudsley, or he should be crowned Sir Robert Maudsley, king of the Bacon Bashers. I think he's murdered 3 inside of prison, but he's actually paying for that because he's been in around about 50 years now, and he's been in solitary by himself in a cell that is, well, he's in the CSU inside of HMP, is at Wakefield. Now, everyone thinks he's in a glass perspex box, but he's not. He's just down in the unit in HMP Wakefield, which it isn't a very nice place to be. He's been in there for about 40 years. So that will be the next one, JB. The king of the Bacon Bashers, Sir Robert Maudsley. So that's the next one that I'm going to be doing. Yeah. So Greg says, do the police leave you alone now? Well, they do now that they know that I'm not up to anything. But believe it or not, they made it very difficult for us to get off my IPP license. The probation and the police together did not want me off that one single bit. They didn't want us on my YouTube. I'm not sure about the coppers with the YouTube, but the probation did not like the fact that I was on here with freedom of speech talking on here. Yeah, so when you have, I'll answer that like it says, do the police leave you alone? Now, they do now, but they did not want me off license. They were putting non-disclosures into the probation. Probation kept putting it off, getting me license terminated. But then when this new law came out, where it was automatically getting terminated on the 1st of November, whatever, I had a parole hearing in the September time. They put me, my IPP was terminated. But if it was down to them, I would still be on it, believe it or not. And they, or a lot of people's downfall, them coppers and probation, when they don't like you and they're on your back, they're messing with your head. And if you're not strong-minded, you'll fucking flip in the probation office or out in the street or whatever. You act the way they want you to. Don't keep a sound mind. You react, even telling them to fuck off, anything like that. They get you back in, but that's exactly what they want. But luckily for me, I'm off my IPP license. I've kept my head right. I've never even had a celebratory drink. I'm off the drink, teetotal, because I was actually, we'll talk about the IPPs now. I was actually planning, the beginning of this year, when I knew I would have been getting off my license, I was planning on celebrating by getting smashed. But then I thought, if I get smashed, that's taking me back to square one. So I'm teetotal, off the drink, killing them with success. Because like I mentioned, they didn't want me off it, and they would love to have me under their control. But that won't be happening. Right, I was going to go and talk about the IPP, wasn't it? But someone's got to, I'll just read this comment out first. Robert Maudsley should be a great video. Sad what they've done to him. He's only a danger to certain Romans. Like I say, he was SA'd as a child when he was younger. So as you can imagine, he despises them. And when he's come across them inside a prison, he's took out what's happened to him and he's ended them. And then obviously he's been given life without parole, and he'll never see the outside of a prison again, or a prison cell for that matter, because he gets out for a little bit by himself on the exercise yard, and that's about it. But Paul Thrower, fucking love this channel. Thank you very much, pal. And JB says, you've done brilliant, Ricky. Such a great inspiration to many. Thank you very much, pal. But yes, getting back to the IPPs, I haven't forgotten about these lads and lasses inside of prison. Mostly the lads, because, yeah, the majority there's still a lot of lasses still inside. But the lads, I'm in contact with a few, trying to keep the spirits up. One of them, I've done a video on him, was Wayne Gregory. I'm going to do an updated video on him. The poor lad, his name inside of prison is the Joker, because he's ripped his face with a razor blade up each side. So he's put a smile on his face. So it looks as though he's smiling, because that's how tormented his head is with the IPP. Now, a lot of these lads are inside 18 years later off a 2-year recommendation. How can you justify that? They're serving 18, nearly 20 years, some of them, for the least one, believe it or not, was a 6-month recommendation or 6-month tariff. So he could have been released after 6 months, but 18 years later, still inside a prison. People who have committed murder have come in and out quicker than what he has. And all's he done, not minimizing it, when I was saying all's he done, he was in the street and he threatened someone for the phone, took the phone off them and was given IPP. And 18 years later, he's still in prison. How can you justify that? So Wayne, I'm doing an updated version on him. Updated video, sorry. I'm in touch with Pepsi Watson. I'm not sure if any of you lot watching here now will be familiar with Pepsi Watson. He was an IPP activist, because he is IPP himself. And he was on here on a YouTube doing a load of videos exposing the system. And again, like myself, they didn't like what he was doing, and they pushed him over the edge. He put a comment on about probation. They issued his recall. I've spoken to him on the phone last week because I've been emailing him. He rang us up, and he's been in for 4.5 years without a parole hearing. And all it was because he put something on YouTube. Again, no freedom of speech. The IPPs are supposed to be mutes, aren't allowed to say anything. And Pepsi Watson has been in prison for 4.5 years for nothing. And they still don't want him out, the probation. He just had another hearing, a 2-day long. These hearings only normally last 2 hours. His hearing went on for 2 days. The parole were all on his side. Bear in mind, on the parole board, there's a judge. There has to be a judge sitting on your parole hearing. And they were all on his side. And then right at the very end, the probation turned around and said, right, so is he fit for release? He's fit for release. He's no concern. Then they said, what about the probation officer who we made the comment about? And she said she suffered. I think it was she suffered because of the comment that he put on, and she had a traumatic time. So the parole got paused, stopped, and it's going ahead again in December next month. So hopefully he gets out. But the way things are going, he doesn't want to conform anymore with probation because of what they've done to him. So he's got a slim chance of getting out unless he gets his IPP squashed completely. That's what he's aiming for, but I don't think that will happen. And another one, I've just had another message off him. I've been interacting with him, is Joe Outlaw. He is on trial in February the 3rd, I believe it is, and he's asked me if I can organise a peaceful protest outside of Newcastle Crown Court, which I am going to do. So I will be doing that this coming week for the IPPs, because like I said, I'm out here now living my life IPP free, and I have not forgot the ones inside, because I know exactly how they feel and what they are going through. So I will be pushing forward to try and help with the changes to the IPPs and try and get them resentenced, because that's what needs to happen. And I do know there is a lot of IPPs that are still inside that are dangerous predators, which I don't give a toss about them lot. Anyone that harms kids doesn't deserve to be out. But that's the shit situation the IPPs are in, because everyone gets branded the same. When I was in there myself, IPP for violence, the class violent offenders, the same as S offenders? How can you put that in the same category? Someone who has harmed kids and someone like myself who harmed another like-minded person who was living the same sort of lifestyle. It just does not make sense. Someone that can harm kids isn't classed the same as someone who does other types of offending. It's not the same. Them S offenders need their own sentence. They need to be kept on that type of sentence to keep an eye on them. But Joe Outlaw, I will get all the information. I've done a video on him a while back. He's actually got someone doing his videos on TikTok. He's actually quite a talented musician. There's a video I will upload when I do the video about him when he's on his guitar and he's singing about the IPP, and it's quite an emotional song. What he's singing the lyrics about the IPPs and the effects that it has had on him. So Joe has asked me he wants my help to organise a peaceful protest. So hopefully he gets a not guilty. And the charge that he's up on, they're trying to say that he tried to escape from HMP Franklin prison. He was actually in HMP Manchester, formerly known as Strangeways. He was up on the roof because he's one of these, put him in any prison and he can get on any roof in any prison. He scurried up the pipes, up on top of the roof in Strangeways. He's actually get some paint up there and he's wrote on the roof, free IPPs. So what they've done, they didn't like that because the press and everything was involved. They're outside the prison videoing him whilst he's on the roof and he's shouting over to the reporters, giving them info about the IPPs. When they got him down, give him a beating, sent him up to Franklin prison. And as he got off the bus, he's actually made a run for it again and getting up on top of the block roof. He was on the roof of HMP Franklin. Type it in Google, you'll see it. The videos are on there. Again, the Evening Chronicle was straight down there. It was in the papers. And they've got him down for trying to escape. He couldn't have escaped over the wall. There's a big fence. Then there's a massive concrete wall, which is about 20 foot high. He was nowhere near the outside wall. So they're trying to stitch him up, saying he tried to escape prison because they don't like the fact that he's speaking out from inside of there. And he has uploaded videos, like I've mentioned, on TikTok, doing songs, speaking about the IPP. So I'm going to help the lad out, do a video this week and get a bit more info on his case and let you all know exactly about it. So Ross says, I remember Pepsi, quite a shit situation. That's situation, sorry. But Pepsi, like I say, he was a activist for the IPPs, standing up, speaking for them. Because if it wasn't for people talking up about the IPPs, even people like myself probably still wouldn't be off it now because they wanted us kept on the IPP. But when they brought it to the public's attention, everyone started realizing what's going on with this sentence. A lot of the press was getting onto it, and they didn't like the fact that it was getting bad publicity and people were in uproar about these IPPs. So there is some activists that were campaigning for us. Donna Mooney, Shirley de Bono, they were the main ones. They were the ones that had a lot of things changed for us. And I will be doing videos, podcasts and everything with a lot more people in IPPs coming up. This channel is just starting, to be honest, people. 77,800 subscribers in counting. And it's just going to get bigger and better. This is just at the beginning. I'm doing loads of podcasts with new guests, IPPs, people that have been in prison, and just bringing loads of attention to what's going on inside the prisons and who's going in. And again, the videos that he's loving the most, the bacon bashers. So Robert Maudsley will be the next one I'll be doing. Right, people, I'll be wrapping this up one soon if any more questions are out. Yeah, what's this one? Aldo says, Glenn Roth's really but Perth. Oh, he's just talking it. Sure. Make him category D. He would earn a lot doing roof repairs. He definitely would. Right, people, I think I'm going to wrap that one up now. I've been on there nearly an hour, by about 50 minutes, I think it says there, but I will be bringing you more prison news. Hit that like button, people. Get their algorithm going. But this video will upload if you're only just joining now. When I end the live stream, it will upload. So if you want to go back and watch it from the start. And I was talking about this one here. I'll just put the ticker across the bottom. Police officer sentenced to 9 years in prison. Dean Dempster, the bacon copper from Manchester, Greater Manchester Police Force, absolute despicable piece of who done that to a poor young lass when he was called out to a house visit. But I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you are enjoying the content. And I'd imagine if you're watching this, you are already subscribed to the channel. But if you're not, go down, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to that 100,000 mark. So I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Keep an eye out. I'll be doing more videos. Got loads planned for this week. Yeah. So see what this one's. Wayne Couzens, jail, tough X. Yes, I've done a video on Wayne Couzens, well, quite a few. He's in HMP Franklin. I'll leave that one there for now. People enjoy the rest of your day and have a safe week ahead. Take care, everyone.